What is one of the dumbest things you've done when your brain was on autopilot? I work at a busy restaurant, so I end up saying corner hundreds of times a night as I go back and forth around corners and doorways in the kitchen. Was running food to a table, set it down gently, and in my sweetest customer service voice I said corner while looking the customer right in the eye instead of here is your soup or something like I usually do. They looked confused. My brain tried to reset, and so naturally I said thank you as if that made it better. I ended up just backing away. It was a lost cause. Oh man, restaurant callouts just stick with you. I did something similar when at the grocery store. I was walking around an older lady to get to the cheese and just belted out behind. Scared the crap out of the poor thing. This is a while ago, but I was working at McDonald's and worked in the morning, not a morning person. Still not. My brain wakes up around 10 AM and I think it was like 8 AM. And I handed this lady her large coffee and the sun shined bright in my eyes and all I said was praise the sun and she looked at me all weird and drove off. I find this one the most hilarious of all. I was a kitchen employee at Arby's when I was 18. We used to have sub rolls that were foot long, but the only subs we sold were 6-inch. So you had to cut each roll in half before you used it. I was just zoned out one day, and I ended up cutting the sub roll in half, putting the knife back in the sub roll bag, and then trying to use the sub roll to cut the next sandwich. My manager saw it and freaking died. Imagine being a customer and seeing your employee trying to cut bread with bread. I was trying to make some scrambled eggs. Basic prep. Crack the eggs. Put the eggs in a bowl. Toss the shell. My dumbass. Crack the egg. Put egg in the trash. I literally stood above the trash can with the shell in my hands processing what had just happened for about 30 seconds. I just had the faint feeling of I fricked up and was wondering exactly how for way too long. I do this at least once a month. I feel like such an absolute moron when I do it too, like I can't believe I've done this again. I just stand there staring at the shells with a sigh. Not me, but one time my GF got handed her drink at Starbucks, said thanks, went over to the bar to get cream or something and immediately dropped her fresh drink straight into the trash can at the bar. Her mother and I just looked at her and started laughing. The barista saw what happened and with a it happens attitude agreed to replace the drink. It also helped that no one was in there except us, haha. We still bring it up every now and then and all laugh, my GF included. What a nice barista. Thrown a bowl of cereal on my bed. God blessed me, because even though it was cinnamon toast crunch, I like to eat it dry. Dry cinnamon toast crunch is delicious. I was working fast food and taking orders both inside and for the drive-thru. I took someone's order inside at the counter and told them to pull forward to the second window. While on autopilot, goes outside and stands at the window. Put a dog biscuit into the washing machine instead of a detergent pod. I realized before turning it on, so I was able to recover it. Waited at a stop sign for 5 minutes thinking it was a red light. I was not on my phone. I didn't hold anybody else up luckily. Reminds me of the old saying, drunk drivers are more likely to run a stop sign. Stoned drivers are just gonna wait for the sign to turn green. I went inside the gas station, paid, then drove off. Twice. Didn't even fill up, just drove away. I've done the same thing going through the drive-thru a time or two. Pay for my food, get my receipt, drive off, turn around and go back for my food. My brother ordered nachos at a Mexican restaurant, grabbed a chip and proceeded to watch himself dip it into his tea. After about 2 dips, he came back into reality, shook his head and went, "What? My mother is an EMT. After a 24-hour shift she came home and tried to unlock the front door with her car keys button and did that for about 5 minutes. I once drove to work when I was supposed to drop my younger brother off at school. Neither of us seemed to notice until we got to my workplace and I had turn around. He was late. Little bro noticed for sure. He just wanted to skip class. I've gotten in my car on the weekends to go somewhere and gone on autopilot and realize it as I'm pulling into my work's parking lot. I'm like, why the frick did I drive to work? I've had similar experiences. I had 3 jobs for a while, and occasionally I'd get dressed for the right job, then drive straight to the wrong one and not realize it until I'm at the door, or answering the phone at job A with job B's greeting. Went to the gym, walked right past the desk where you check in and get a locker key, walked into the locker room, stood in front of a locker and was absolutely puzzled about what to do next. I can hear a buzz sound, like you get in a video game. Then a screen pops up missing locker key. Was holding my phone and ice cream in a cone. Phone rang. Answered ice cream. A sticky ear is surprisingly uncomfortable. Passes ice cream over to person it's for you. Put a used fork in the trash can instead of the dishwasher. It's a dishwasher, not a washing machine. Seems I was still on autopilot when I wrote this. Continuously jammed my work key into my house door. My work key is a big silver one and my house key is one of those picture ones with a bunny on it. I tried to click my house door open with my car keys on more than one occasion. A couple of weeks ago, I was driving home, but instead of going to my current house, I drove to my old house. I haven't lived there in over 5 years. I pulled into the driveway and luckily I realized what I had done before I actually got out of the car. I can just imagine you entering the house while some family, going about their day, looks up at you in absolute confusion. Wake up in the middle of the night to take a pee, then just autopiloted into my morning routine. It wasn't until after I drank my coffee that I realized it was only 3 AM and that I wasn't going to be able to go back to sleep. I took a nap after work, woke up at 7 PM, and the sky was about the same color it is in the morning. I went into immediate autopilot and made coffee, packed my lunch, and realized what I'd done when I was halfway downtown. My brother used the washroom before bedtime and it was my turn to go now. I wanted to brush and we had newly shifted so everything was in a mess, and hence I couldn't find the toothpaste. So I asked my bro where he kept it and when I couldn't find it where he said it was, he came to check himself and handed me the shaving cream. When I pointed it out, he said that's why it tasted odd. I just thought it was from a different brand from around here. TLDR, my brother used shaving cream as toothpaste. I have a dog with fluffy white hair. Think poodle-ish. I was on the couch petting and talking to my dog for a good while when I see my wife come down the stairs. Trailing behind her was my dog. I had been petting a Costco fuzzy white blanket the whole time. I wish I could say it only happened once. For those asking for pics of my pup at @denverthadudladog on Insta, you can now see my dog and the blanket at @denverthadudladog on Instagram. And this is hilarious. Can't imagine what it must have looked like to your wife, you being all who's a good boy and kissy facing with a goddamn rug. Overshot an exit that I've used hundreds of times, didn't notice and ended up driving another 50 miles before realizing that I was way out of the city's boundaries. Still didn't remember any of the in-between, just starting to drive and then realizing I had no idea where I was. Dang, we love mindless driving, lol. I picked shaving foam can instead of antiperspirant and spray it on my underarm. Took it as a sign from the almighty and ended up shaving my underarm. That's how you listen to the universe. Bless. When I was a brand new mom on maternity leave, but still trying to juggle law school and a newborn, my sister-in-law had an emergency and had to leave her Boston Terrier with me. Even though he was a very well-behaved dog and had met the baby, we still kept them separated just in case. One morning, after my husband left for work, I picked up the baby up out of the bassinet and went downstairs to make coffee. My husband had forgotten something and promptly came right back in to find me at the counter, brewing coffee, rocking a black and white dog in one arm, while our son still quietly chilling in his bassinet upstairs. He took the day off from work and I went back to sleep. I imagine his expression was quite funny. My mom had taken my lunch out of the fridge so I wouldn't forget it, which I did once. While on autopilot I put it back. I have learned the hard way that if you hold money in one hand, you never have trash in the other. It is impossible to throw the correct item away. You at least made a homeless person happy. We will say my name is Joe. I worked in retail as a manager. I had a call on hold for me, and I hadn't had my caffeine yet. I picked up the phone and said, "Thank you for Joeine. How may I hold you?" instead of "Thank you for holding. How may I help you? Just pretended like nothing happened while I thought the customer was in complete silence. Turned out they had one of those laughs where you can't breathe right away. Yes, someone at my counter once asked me for a cough of copy. One evening I was playing Europa Universalis and I was pretty immersed in the gameplay. Suddenly I thought I could grab a beer. So I paused the game and went to the fridge for one, but there were none. Weird, though I was almost sure I had at least 3 bottles there. So I returned to the computer and all 3 bottles stood and opened on my desk. Apparently, I had the same thought 4 times already, but every time I got back to the computer I forgot about the beer and went back to playing without remembering the incident. I've had 2, both driving related for some reason. One, I was at the grocery store pushing my car through the aisle, as you do. Then, when I went to turn left into another aisle, I tried to put on my blinker for some reason. 2, class was just ending and as I was about to stand up to leave, I reached down to unbuckle my seat belt. You're a good driver, even when driving a car you use your blinker. We could use more people like you. My co-worker was clearly right in front of me, bent down between me and the fridge. I couldn't reach for the door without seeing her. I smacked that fridge door right into her head and apologized profusely. She did mock me for having trouble opening a gallon of milk before that, so I guess monkey brain got angry and took control. I woke up, so I automatically got dressed, prepared things to school and started making myself a breakfast. Suddenly my dad appears in the kitchen, saying, "It's 3 in the morning and it's Sunday. What the heck are you doing?" Reminds me of the time I got up and started writing a story based on the last song I heard on the radio at 2 AM. Mum asked me what I was doing up, and I said I have to finish this. She told me that school had been out for 3 weeks. Put pasta on the stove, but forgot to add water. For another half hour, I was hearing the cackling noise of burning pasta and thinking, I wonder where this noise is coming from. The smell finally got to me. You may want to check your smoke detector. I woke up and saw that the clock said 6. Work started at 5. I shot out of bed, threw on clothes, and sped to work. Something seemed off, but I was late. No time for that now. I walked in, past an area that wasn't running on my shift yet and thought to myself, wonder when they started that. It started dawning on me. When I made it to my line, there was a day shift person. The person I relieved every day when I showed up. She looked at me like I had 2 heads. It was 6 AM. I didn't have to work until 5 PM. I shamefully told the shift manager what happened, clocked back out, and went back to bed. I worked in that company for 4 years after that, and to my last day, my manager gave me crap about it. Peed in the trash can. Wasn't even thinking. Just got up, walked towards it, opened the lid thinking it's the toilet seat and let it rip. By the time I realized it, way too late and I just committed to it. The bags are waterproof after all. Except for when they aren't. Source: drip trail of juice from old half-rotten fruit leaking out the bag. Was the first car at a red light in town. The light at the next block turned green, so I hit the gas. My light was still red. Had to stop at a green light to let an ambulance through. Then I just went through the intersection, not realizing until I was halfway through that the light was red. I was trying to ask my friend something, so I called out Shane, and then he looked at me, and for some reason instead of asking him the question I called Shane twice more to his face and he was like, "You've already gotten my attention." All kinds of things when I've first woken up, either in the bathroom or kitchen. Put body wash in my hair instead of shampoo. Put shampoo on my body instead of body wash. But hair gel on my toothbrush. Reapply deodorant a few times because I couldn't remember if I just did. Put dry, fortunately, dog food in my cereal bowl, and cereal in my dog's bowl. The absolute worst was one time I opened a can of wet dog food and licked the lid. So, I DK about the other things, but if you aren't sure if you've applied deodorant, just do a smell check. I do this like 5 times every day before I leave. Earlier today I filled up my electric kettle at the tap and then went to place it in the microwave. In my defense, I was about to make myself some instant ramen, and I was only half focusing on the job at hand while thinking of other things. Once my brother was using one of those microwavable ramen cookers and forgot the water, charred his noodles, and we almost had to clear out the house. Not sure if this counts, but I will sometimes be having a conversation and say what I need to say, and then when the person responds back, I have zero idea what they're talking about because I can't remember what I'd said in the first place. It's super annoying and only happens when I'm tired and on autopilot. When I was like 9 or 10, my grandparents had a beach house in Biloxi, Mississippi. I know, why the heck there? Anyway, the condominium complex had a pool and my mother took me to the pool as the adults were going off gambling and whatnot. Mom and I arrive at the pool and there's a girl there, maybe 13 or 14. Me, being on the edge of full-blown adolescence, was locked on her. So mom was talking about God knows what at the time. I'm just haha. Yeah mom, while watching this girl swim and loading her into my 10-year-old spank bank. I begin to take off my shirt, but I had gone full autopilot and slid my swim trunks down as if I was about to get into a shower. Oh frick. I pulled them back up because I think the girl had noticed but mom didn't. I told my mother I had to take a wicked crap and went back to the condo, and now I have this horrid memory to look back on every now and again, even into my late 20s. Well, at least you made up for it by announcing to the world you had to take a wicked crap. Nice save. I was riding passenger in my car with my wife driving. I was sort of brain dead after work while we were carpooling and we came to a stoplight. It turned green but the car in front of us wasn't moving for a few seconds. I was trying to call the car a mother and then tell my wife to honk, but ended up saying honk mother. Let me tell you, the look my wife had on her face before she realized I was being retarded was something unique. So now it has become a joke between us cause she started laughing her butt off once I realized what I had done moments later, and I went, wait no, that isn't what I meant. Are you freaking sorry? I normally wear contacts, but sometimes don't put them in on the weekends. Getting ready for bed on a Saturday, put my contacts in, lay down in bed, and realized I could see clearly. It felt like Peter Parker after he first got bit by the spider. I was still half asleep one morning and picked up an aerosol can, thinking it was deodorant, but then thought to myself, I have made this mistake before. I ought to check it's not hairspray. So I blearily looked closer at it, and my brain went spray, so I pressed down and sprayed myself right in the face with hairspray. Early morning, I was about to put mouthwash on my toothbrush, but I caught myself and I was like, nice try, brain, and put them back. Then, I grabbed the toothpaste and squeezed it on my palm. Nice try, brain. Brain. Hold my toothpaste. I poured water from a kettle in my French press, cafetiere, let the coffee brew, poured it into a mug, added caramel syrup, took it up 2 flights of stairs, took a sip and nearly spat it out. I'd done all that before realizing I hadn't boiled the kettle. Most heartbreaking cup of coffee ever. Ouch, I hope you've recovered well. I put my car keys in the freezer and lost them for weeks. Literally had to go out and buy a new fob. Found them almost a month later when I went to take out the soup I prepped the day my keys went missing. I do so much dumb freaking stuff while on autopilot, and it doesn't help that I'm on autopilot more often than not. And thrown away so many spoons and forks, then had to dig in the trash to get them back out. And threw away my phone instead of my trash more times than I care to mention. And where are my keys? Where are my keys? Oh, that's right. They're in the fridge cause frick you. That's why. And throw away something I was eating. And where's my phone? Where's my goddamn phone? In the closet on the top shelf underneath a stack of papers cause frick you. That's why. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.